Oh my god, the guy whose YouTube channel is called a Gold Pikmin with nearly 600 subscribers under that channel name is actually doing a damn Pikmin video. Who woulda thought it? Okay, but in all seriousness, I actually did plan to do a Pikmin video a while ago, because this was like before Nintendo had actually decided, hey, Pikmin 4 still exists, so I made like a troll video where I was like, since Pikmin 4 is not gonna exist, I'll just do some ideas myself, and I sent that video to a friend because I wanted that video to be in their particular visual style, because I think they have a funny thing. If y'all know like the drag and drop memes, or like someone is clearly like dragging and dropping PNGs with Photoshop, it's sort of like that. I wanted the video to be like that, but that didn't work out, and then, you know, Pikmin 4 ended up being like, you know, the trailer dropped, so it's like, I'm gonna try and do the same thing, only this time a bit more educated and with actual expectations that Pikmin 4 will exist. I mean, I had them before, it was just kind of a joke, but like, you get it. Okay, so I have a document like in the corner of my screen that I'm using to go through this video. Let's get the obvious main show out of the way. New or like returning Pikmin types, like just Pikmin types. Now, let's go over what every seasoned Pikmin fan knows. Everyone knows that there was the, in the true ending of the first Pikmin, there was all those colored onions, and there's still 3 of them that have yet to be seen in a game, because there were like purple onions, we got purple Pikmin, there were like these blackish, grayish onions, which are rocks, pink, well, with the wings. But they're still orange, green, and cyan. Now, despite the fact that the usual formula is to do 2 new Pikmin types per game, everyone kind of wants 3 new types in Pikmin 4. 1, because there's these 3 types that we still haven't seen from like the, you know, Pikmin 1 ending, like I just said, and 2, also because adding 3 types would mean that aside from Bulbmin, there would be 10 types, which would be an even number, and, you know, you could have like, you know, a perfect squad of like 10 Pikmin of 10 types. So obviously something a lot of people probably want is story relevance for all the Pikmin types, because in Pikmin 3, purples and whites kind of got shoved to the side mode and basically just became tools. I think what a lot of people would appreciate is if all the Pikmin types got story relevance again, and we don't have any fumbling like side types like before. Now obviously with theoretically 10 types in rotation, that could really complicate the idea of like distributing and managing all your Pikmin, because like, you know, what types do I need? Personally, I think a really interesting idea would be if you were limited to bringing 5 types with you per day. Like before you go, well, like once you get more than 5 types, once you go somewhere, you have to like choose 5 of all of the types you have, so that way, you know, you go in with a set plan. Now obviously this is limiting, because like if you're in the middle of the day and you're like, oh shoot, I really could have used that type and I didn't bring it, it's like, well, that's just part of the management. The whole thing about Pikmin is that it's supposed to be replayable, and every time you play the game you're supposed to know more and be able to do it faster, and this is just another aspect of that. After you've gone through the game a couple times, you'll know what types you'll have to bring in. And I just think it would be an interesting idea, because like, say you usually use winged Pikmin for bringing stuff back fast, but say you go in an area where a lot of the spider web things, say there's a lot of those things in a particular area, well, instead of bringing the wings to get the thing on the other side back, just bring whites. Save yourself the trouble of killing all the spiders, just use whites to walk under them and bring it back. And who knows, maybe there's also poison hazards on the other side that you could just deal with while you got them with you that day. Of course, it's sort of like a outlandish sort of idea. If they do use all the types in story mode, I don't know if they would do that, but you know, it's just an idea to sort of simplify the management system. Rather than going through the chaos of juggling 10 types in a day, just limit it to 5 and go in with a plan, you know? Now obviously there could also just be exceptions to this, like obviously in like the bonus modes this 5 type limitation probably wouldn't exist, and also maybe like the final area of the story mode, because it's like a test of all the things you've learned. That's how they always are. But enough of that, let's get into the ideas. Now there's some obvious things that everyone has always said even before like Pikmin 3, and it's like orange Pikmin, explosions, cyan Pikmin would be like ice, you know, the stuff everyone has said. Even I've said it at one point, though unlike everyone else I didn't give the orange Pikmin a shell, I gave them like a scaly carapace to their skin. But, you know, it's not important. Everyone has thought of, like, these ideas, you know, orange explosions, cyan ice. I haven't really seen too many ideas for green, but I know one idea I had one time was for there to be, like, this sap or waxy substance as, like, a hazard, and basically they would be immune to, like, slipping on it. Like, they could climb up a tree covered in this waxy sap and get stuff out of the tree. Maybe there would be like a type of gate dedicated to this that you have to open. And like certain enemies could also utilize this, because the canonical reason as to why the Pikmin couldn't climb up like Beady Longlegs, but they can climb up like Shaggy Longlegs, is because Beady's shell is made of like wax and the Pikmin slip off of it. Therefore, if you had like this Pikmin that doesn't like slip on wax, you could essentially turn Beady Longlegs into like Baldy Longlegs, basically. But that's just a silly idea I had one time. And speaking of elements and stuff, because like that's the whole deal with Pikmin, is each type is supposed to be like for a specific hazard. Speaking of, let's talk about elemental balance or hazard balance. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Balance to electricity. Everyone and their mother who's a Pikmin fan knows at this point that electricity was stupid broken in Pikmin 2 because it was an instant kill, and in Pikmin 3 it was just useless because it didn't kill at all. Almost like overcompensated for that poor balance decision and ended up going, you know, too far. Now, an idea I saw that I actually perfectly agree with is that electricity should be like a timed kill thing, but because it stuns the Pikmin in place rather than makes them run around and freak out, make electricity's timer to rescue them shorter, sort of like fire was in the first Pikmin game, where you only had like 1 second or 2 to get them. But you know, the obvious elephant of electricity out of the way, something I'd like to see is a lot of people maybe don't realize this. I mean, they've probably seen it, but they don't think about it too much, is that the water hazard, which is what blue Pikmin are for, essentially comes in 2 forms. There's, you know, the bodies of water that they'll drown in, and it's, you know, if a Pikmin starts drowning, it's kind of hard to get them out. But then there's like projectile type water that, like every other hazard, gets stuck on their head, and the Pikmin start running around. And something I'd like to see is the projectile type of water get used a little more, because in Pikmin 2, it was entirely possible to go all the way to the Titan Dweevil, the final boss, without having a Pikmin ever get hit by like projectile type water. And do you know how I know that? Because I did it. Pikmin 3 did a little bit of a better job of this, because they did add a couple more enemies that use projectile water, but I think, you know, if they keep up with that same type of, you know, level, you know, I'd be fine with it. And to wrap up the last little category of this just quick kind of Pikmin video is enemies and bosses. Now, obviously there's going to be new enemies, especially if there's new Pikmin, because there's got to be enemies for those Pikmin to deal with. You know, new hazards, enemies got to utilize those hazards. There's always new enemies. But the question is, what's going to be returning? Because in terms of Pikmin 2, a lot of stuff did return, and there were new enemies that were basically evolved forms of those things. And, you know, some of the other ones, they were like, yeah, they were unique, but Pikmin 2 focused a lot on, like, evolving the same types of things that we used to know, and, you know, a handful of new things here and there. Pikmin 3, on the other hand, went the complete opposite direction, and returned like, only a handful of things, really, and like maybe a couple new forms for old enemies, but it was mostly new enemies, and that includes like all the bosses. And the question is like, where is Pikmin 4 gonna fall on that? Is it gonna go in between? Is it gonna go with like Pikmin 2's route? Is it gonna go with Pikmin 3's route? Personally speaking, I'd be more satisfied with the routes of seeing some stuff return, because there was so much like new stuff in the third one, like, because most of the stuff was like new enemies or like new variations. I still honestly haven't really adapted to memorizing all of them. I want there to be enemies for like every kind of hazard, and there should be like there should be enemies for like every type of Pikmin to handle, and like at least one boss for every Pikmin type to handle. Even some of the weaker Pikmin, like winged Pikmin, they're not as strong combat-wise, they don't do as much damage. Even they should have a boss that focuses around their kind of technique, because that's basically what the Scornet Maestro was in Pikmin 3. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all this, and I look forward to getting Pikmin 4. I'm in the process of getting a capture card, or whatever it's called, so I'm gonna try and play it for the YouTube channel, because I finally want to get Pikmin content on here. Gold Pikmin with nearly 600 subscribers. Jesus Christ, man, how are you not doing Pikmin content? That's gonna do it for this video, and I'll see y'all another time. Bye, everyone.